Mike from VLS, Automechanika, back after 4 years. How exciting is it to be talking to people again?
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's fantastic. It's a busy show. There's all sorts of people here. We've got good exhibitors. We've got a good turnout of mechanics and wholesalers. I've seen quite a few motor factors here as well.
And it's a celebration for VLS, isn't it? 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. We surprised ourselves, actually, I think. Yeah, 10 years since we set up the VLS, which is a subsidiary of the UK Lubricants Association. And yeah, it's been a busy 10 years. I was involved in the original setup, so kind of know the history and the story, but it's evolved and changed a lot over the years.
And if you look at the original business plan and where you are now, nothing like the business plan originally, where you thought you'd be?
No, I think it's become far more complex and more difficult than we even thought it was. We knew it would be difficult to try and police quality standards within the industry because, you know, originally trading standards themselves weren't able to do it, and they were the ones that came to us and said, look, we need your help, but we actually think you need to do it. So VLS was created to really challenge some of the marketing and sales claims on what was 10 years ago, reflecting back, was relatively simple lubricant programs. Since then it's become even more complicated. You know, you've got 9 different 530s in one range, and you've got so much complexity in the damage that can be done if you fit the wrong products, turbochargers, DPFs, catalytic converters, you name it, and it's expensive.
And the next 10 years, it's not going to get any easier, is it?
I think the next 10 years is going to get really interesting because there's kind of a bit of a mindset that says, okay, we're going to flip from, when it comes to passenger vehicles and light commercial, we're going to flip from having combustion engines and we'll just move everything electric.
Yeah.
And I think you're already seeing that that's not going to be the final solution, and there's a lot of debate around it. We know that our additive companies are working with vehicle manufacturers on hydrogen combustion engines, lubricants. We know that there's synthetic fuels that have been accepted by the European Union as a replacement for combustion engines. So it's not safe to say the combustion engine is dead. You've got JCB, for example, already running a hydrogen-based off-highway vehicle. So I think electric is going to be a key part of the solution, but the lubricant solutions is going to have to vary extensively. I think it's going to become even more complex for the workshops.
And how do you see that shaping? Obviously, you're going to be at the head of it. Who are you working with closely? Who are you developing things with to maintain the standards that we need in the industry?
Yeah, we try and work very, very closely with the industry bodies. So ATL, who are setting lubricant standards. We work very closely with trading standards who help us out whenever we have problems or with members who insist on using the wrong claims, etc. And we work very closely with all of the members. So we have pretty much every major oil company is involved, and local blenders in the UK are involved in supporting the technical team. So we have the best technical team to identify the challenges, and then if needs be, trading standards come in and help us.
And the oil companies themselves, they want the standards to be high, don't they? Because their brand, every drop of oil that goes out represents their brand.
Yeah, totally. I mean, no one wants to be cited by the VLS as making claims that you shouldn't do, and it's safe to say that that's not our objective. Our objective is to educate. It's to help ensure the customer gets what they're paying for, make sure the motor factors understand what it is, and we have motor factors as members of the VLS now, which is great because we need their expertise as well. And then we have, the technical team. Everything is done anonymously when a case is reported to us. And the first thing we do is go back to the blender or the manufacturer and give them advice on this is what the issue is here if we find an issue. And then hopefully they work with us and we resolve that. So we keep the standard high for the consumer.
And you mentioned Europe earlier. Obviously you have a lot of communication with European bodies, European authorities. How does the UK compare to the rest of the
I think it's interesting because the UK, if you go back sort of 20 years ago, the UK vehicle park was the youngest in Europe and the most complicated in Europe. British Leyland disappeared a long time ago. And we've been making Hondas and Toyotas and Nissans and so forth. So we became a very fragmented market. So if anywhere a lubricant challenges, it was going to happen in the UK. So consequently, I think the VLS developed pretty much all of the policies and procedures. that we're now sharing with our counterparts in Australia, in Spain, South Africa. We're working with those associations as well to help them with the policies and procedures that we follow, because they're also suffering, similar issues.
And vehicles are older in many other countries, aren't they? The average age of vehicle is a lot older.
Yeah, the UK was very young. I mean, again, now the UK is getting older. Consumers are thinking, hang on, do I need to change this every 3 years? Interest rates are going up, and the economics since COVID as well on your vehicle seems to have changed. So I think I can see consumers holding their vehicles for a lot longer. And in fact, the advice is from some quarters, don't change your vehicle. All those CO2 emissions that went into building that vehicle, they're still there, so use them.
That's been the message of today, I think, is that the fact that people are buying quality parts on to last longer, and yes, it's more of an outlay at the top, but over the long term, it actually saves them money. And also that's reflected in oils and lubricants as well, isn't it?
I think there's two parts to that. One is, if you look at markets that have a very old vehicle park, for example, like Finland, which is 15 years old as an average, they buy very high quality lubricants because they want to keep their vehicles, they want to retain their vehicles, they want it to operate safely, and they rely very much on it. I mean, it's quite a remote place in Finland on occasions. And then you also have, the fact, as you said, the vehicle park is aging, but picking the right product is difficult. So application systems are very important. We would always advise, go to a reputable oil company, look at their application system, and fit the product that they're recommending.
So another 10 years ahead?
I think it'll be very difficult. I think we're going to see more complexity. I think we're going to see a proliferation of electric passenger vehicles, hydrogen, combustion, fuel cell. We're going to see quite a difference. And again, each of those requires a different lubricant. So that's going to make the whole lubricant sector more complicated.
Nervous excitement is probably the right way of saying it.
I think we can reflect back and look at it 10 years ago and say, okay, well, we thought it was complex then. It's a far more complex business now. We're still here, we still survive, we're still helping the industry. We keep counterfeit product out of the UK that we see in many emerging markets because we have a standard and we help police it. And I think that the consumer appreciates that.